Nestled in the corner of my garden is this beautiful cacti. So how you recognize this fishbone cactus? First of all, it does look like a fishbone, and second thing, this is the stem, and people mistakenly think that these are the leaves, but they're not. This is actually the whole stem. Now the beauty about this plant, it does actually flower, and when it does flower, the most beautiful flowers come out. So because a lot of my friends ask me about this plant, I thought, why don't I share it? So today I'd like to propagate it and really show you how to do it so you too can have a fishbone cactus. So my name's Alice and I'm the Red Soil Gardener. Today I'd like to talk about my fishbone cacti. Here it is. Now this one, I'd actually propagated it myself about 2 years ago, and look how big it's grown. Now the thing about the fishbone cactus, apart from it looking actually like a fishbone, is that when you do get side shoots, because remember this is the stem, so you get other stems growing from the side, is that what happens is that they do grow vertically, and as they get heavy they drop, and that's why it makes it so more interesting, especially for hanging baskets. And then the next thing that happens is that they have these aerial roots, which you can see at the base, at the bottom of the stem. And the whole purpose of these aerial roots is that because they're forest cacti, is that what happens, these aerial roots actually attach themselves to the trees and they travel upwards, and they do have pricks that can actually prick you, so do be careful about that. Now the thing about this is that as it grows it droops, but these baby stems do come from the side, and as they grow is you can actually recognize them here from the side, and then they start growing longer, and then eventually it gets like this. Now what I have here is this is a plant that I propagated, but once again is that if you look from the side you will get these side stems growing, and once you do get the side stem you could end up with something like this where you get two side stems, and then it just creates more foliage for you. Now the other thing I'd like to point out here is that being a cacti, you always have to have a well-drained soil, and always so that the water can just really easily drain, because you don't want to get root rot. That is number one. The next thing about this particular one is that because it's a rainforest type of plant, it doesn't necessarily have to be like with cactus and succulents where you get full sun. It can actually do well in indirect and moderate light. However, the more light it does get is that the more it will grow. As an indoor plant it would look amazing in a bathroom, for example, because then you really satisfy everything. You have the indirect light, but then you also have that humidity which it's used to when it's in the rainforest. Basically, propagation from this fishbone cacti is actually very simple, because all you do is just take cuttings. So what I'm going to do is just put this one aside, and then I'm going to use my recyclable plastic. I think the salad came in here. Basically what I do with these things is I usually use a skewer, and I just get the skewers heated and I make my drainage holes. So even as I utilize them, I still have the drainage for the plant. Otherwise, as we know, is that if you don't have drainage, it does get root rot. Now what we're going to do is take cuttings from my fishbone cactus, and then I'll show you how to propagate. Okay, I have my containers. So here what I've done is I've just prepared a really well-drained soil. It's got all the goodies in it, compost and everything, and I'm just going to mix it a little bit. So basically with this sort of mixture with compost, a bit of soil and all those lovely goodies, is I have my soil mixture, because what I want to do is that when I do propagate, the water should be able to drain down and not sit in the soil. When you're propagating the fishbone cactus, is basically you propagate the leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for quite a sturdy leaf, maybe something like this, and I will just cut like that. So that's one piece, two piece, and that's the third one. So I'm going to propagate 3 stems of my fishbone cacti. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour some water. I'm going to take it out here because it'll get my table wet, and just keep it a bit moist. We don't want to overwater it so that the soil is really soggy, but this is good enough. Again, I've cut my cuttings. Now I'm a bit confused which way up it should go. But then what they usually say is that the shelf, the straight bit, will give you an indication that this is up. So if I look at my cuttings now, is I look for the shelf, which is this way. There's the shelf, and there's the shelf, which is the straighter part. Do you see? So this is the way up. So basically when I do my cutting, that's the way I'm going to put it. I'll make sure that this goes up. The next thing is that when you do cuttings of any succulent, normally you would leave it to callus. Now the whole point of having it to callus is basically when it does callus, it stimulates a hormone that will tell the plant we're about to start root growth. So always leave it for 1 or 2 days and let it callus and let it get hard. The other reason is that once it does have the callus where it sort of gets slightly hardened, is that what happens is that then the plant is actually shielded in a way from any disease you may have in the soil, or any of those like fungus and all that. It seals it. So always wait. But in this situation, what we're going to do, as I'm just demonstrating, I would have left it for 2 days to have the callus, and then from there I would have stuck it in the soil for propagation purposes. So I'm sticking that one in, and that's the shelf. I'm going to stick that one in, and I'm going to stick the final one in here. Now basically I'm going to keep it moist and make sure it doesn't dry out, but I'm not going to overwater it, and within a month you should start getting rooting. Now I'm going to put this aside, and I will show you some of the ones that I did propagate and after a month. Now this is a plant that I did propagate a while back, and it's already started getting its rooting, as we said, from the base, and it's also got its first shoot of a stem going this way. But this is a sort of rooting you will get with those babies. Once you do get a rooting, what I would do is again get a really nice well-drained soil as we have here, and all you do is you stick it in the pot. There we go. And your plant will take off. Once you do put it in the soil, is that when you get these side stems that will develop, and then in the end, of course, once you put this into the soil, you will, as it develops and gets stronger, you will get these side stems happening on the main stem, and then from there you've actually on the way to get your fishbone cactus, and you could put it either in a hanging basket, put it in the bathroom, or just have it on its own. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Don't forget to like and to share, and also subscribe to my channel, and also tell your friends about it. And don't forget to press that notification button so any time we upload you'll be notified. And Red Soil is on Facebook, and we are on Instagram, and send me comments and we can start sharing. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Thank you.